The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, healing, connecting the dots of your story and transforming your life. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds.
Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing in the world, by Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is Andy Nam calling in. Good to meet with you, Andy.
Hi, Jill. Thank you for letting me on your show.
Well, I'm so glad. We've known each other now for about 2 years, and we'll let everyone know that we met at the Becoming the Better You conferences where we both spoke. And there's a new one coming up in Kansas City in just a couple of weeks. So, to jump right in, Andy, we'd love the audience to know just a little bit about you. So, could you take us on a journey to when you were a little boy growing up and what life looked like for you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just take us a little bit on that journey of childhood?
Oh, wow. That is a weighted question. Okay. Growing up, my dad worked. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. Looking at my relationship, my parents were always fighting. It's one of those situations where things are being thrown across the room and you just diving to so you're out of the way. So I never really understood how relationship should be growing up. But my dad was very big into fitness. Like he used to be a sergeant back in the war, back in World War II. And so like every night he'd be doing push-ups and sit-ups. And I always admired him for that. Like, he was always very fit. He probably didn't eat the best, but he was always very fit. And he's always very always had the mindset about helping others, even though like being liked by others, helping others, even though it didn't translate at home. But fast forward to high school, I got into a pretty bad car accident. I got T-boned by a one-ton truck, like those moving trucks, through an intersection. That fractured my back. It bent my back. It dislocated my knees and stuff like that, which led me on a journey for the next 20 years on painkillers and everything going down in my health, painkillers. I could barely walk or sit in more than 10 minutes at a time, dependent on medication, waiting for the silver bullet to fix things. But over the years, it got worse. And, I married my high school sweetheart. Actually, that car accident where I was traveling to, I was actually on my way to my girlfriend's house during the time. But she stuck with me from through thick and thin, and we're still married since high school. Well, not married since high school. We've been together since high school. But anyways, by the time I was 40, my health was really starting to impede on a relationship, on her life. And, I just wanted to see a different way. And that's when I started my health journey. I gave up modern medicine and started studying from the best, functional doctors, scientists, energy healers. I just looked at all the different holistic ways and natural ways to heal the body. And now, 14 years later, I'm healthier now off pain meds than I ever been in my 20s or 30s.
Wow, wow. Well, on that journey, going back just a little bit to the childhood when dad and mom would have the all-out fights, were either of them alcoholics? Were they drug addicts? What brought on a lot of that rage that you know of?
That is interesting question. Growing up, I didn't know what an alcoholic is. Um, looking back now, like my dad's passed away for a few years now, over almost 10 years now. My mom was an alcoholic because, she used to have, I don't know if you remember back in the day, they have these little plastic jars, like 250 milliliters or whatever. And it's used for orange juice or apple juice, right? And whenever we went out to eat, like, go out to eat for dinner, she'll carry this, she'll bring it over her purse and she'll pour it out, and it's a color of tea, right? Like pale yellow. So I never thought much of it, because but then that was her swig of drink. Instead of drinking tea, she'll have that. And later, as I grew up, I found out it was diluted whiskey. So she don't want to call my mom an alcoholic, but technically she was, and I love my mom growing up. I love my dad. I love both of them. I'm the youngest of my family, but growing up, my mom have really turned us against her dad, saying that, oh, dad's a bad person. He may bring home money, but he doesn't care about the family, and he doesn't care about us. I'm the one that's providing for you. I'm cooking for you. I'm clothing you. And that's the mindset I had growing up. I always thought that, well, dad's just there to give us money, and mom's the one that loved us. And it really wasn't until I got into my 30s and 40s and have my own family that I'm looking, wow, it was actually the other way around. It was my dad that was keeping the family together, and my mom that's the local moco one. And I'm glad she can't understand English, so she doesn't know I'm talking bad about her, because I love her to death. But even to this day, she's still like that, right? She's always looking at fault for people, and and it's tough. Some people just don't want to change because they don't know what's wrong with them, right?
Yeah. Is she still drinking that way yet to this day?
Uh, no, no, only because her liver's bad. Like, all sorts of things are bad. Like my mom now is going to be, she's 89. She'll be turning 90 next year. So she, considering, she's in pretty good health for a 90-year-old.
So she lived in the United States, I'm assuming all those years, or when did she move to the United States?
So I'm originally from Canada. Well, I'm actually originally from Hong Kong. We moved from Hong Kong to Canada when I was 3. My parents are still in Canada. I left Canada in 2000. That was probably the best move that me and my wife Minna did, because otherwise I would still be in that whole crazy family. Mind you, I'm still helping all the family things, all the family drama. Um, Even though we had 10 siblings, I'm the youngest, but I'm the one that's actually helping them with their mortgage, helping them with their medical, anything that's in English they can't figure out, even though I'm like half a country away. It's sort of crazy, but you do what you need to do for your loved ones, right?
Hmm. So she lives in Canada, and she never learned English, to speak English.
No, she didn't. So we lived in Vancouver, and Vancouver, British Columbia. And the funny thing, Vancouver, back in the day in the 70s and 80s, there's so many Chinese people, and we started living in Chinatown. My dad was a meat cutter in a barbecue Chinese store, so they didn't need to speak English, right? So
Okay.
they never bothered learning to speak English. Even my oldest brother, he ended up working at a Chinese restaurant, and he never bothered to learn English. Like, he moved to Canada when he was 21. He went straight to a Chinese restaurant, became a head chef at a Chinese restaurant. But all you are is around Chinese people all the time, and they figure, well, I don't need to learn the language. It's now they're suffering. Now they're suffering.
Did they learn French as well then, living in
Oh, they
Canada?
learned nothing. They just stayed in their circle, their
Wow.
community. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You'll find that in a lot of people in Vancouver, because like the Chinese community was so large that you can just get by speaking Chinese.
Now, is your wife Chinese as well?
Yes, Minna is Chinese. Yes, we're
Okay.
both originally from Hong Kong. Yes,
Okay. So when you're with the family, you all speak Chinese.
yes, we don't have a choice. Me and Minna will speak English when we don't want them hearing what we're saying. Right?
That's that's so funny. So are you drinking your whiskey inside your tea?
No, there's no whiskey. This is just basically a coffee. I have some cacao powder and some Ceylon cinnamon in there. That's it. No,
That
no whiskey. I'm not alcoholic.
that was a joke. That was a joke. So tell me a little bit about now. So you and your wife got married, and do you have children? Did you have any children?
We never had children. Minna would say I'm the child of the family. But I think not having children, we decided early on, if we're gonna have kids by 40, then great. God bless us. But if we didn't have some by 40, we want to make sure we weren't. So, we just didn't want any surprises, right? Because at that point, it can really change your lifestyle, right? Your career and everything. And looking back, we're probably one of the few, let's say, we're glad we didn't. because things would be very different on our career paths and everything that we did. We wouldn't be able to take as large of a risk when you have children involved, right?
Yeah, yeah. So tell a little bit about your career path now and what you're doing as far as holistic health.
Yeah, so my career path, I always loved cars. So, I started tinkering with cars as young as 16. And I was, my first business had to do with cars, like working on cars, making cars faster, making them stronger when I was 21. And I did some variation of that, in the car scene until I was 42 when I finally sold that business. So I always loved cars. But like I said, I had my car accident when I was 18. And for all those people that work on cars, are mechanics, it's hard work. Like it's hard work. Like, you're under the car, you're bending all these crazy weird angles. It's not an easy job. And from the damage I had on my body doing all that work, owning your own business, working the 80-hour weeks, it literally broke my body down faster than it probably would have. And then I was just depending on medication to handle the pain, starting from Tylenol, and then eventually, we gone to, the prescription painkillers, and things just got worse. So it was to the point that, like I said, it got to a point where I just had to make a choice. It's like, we sold the business, we can handle the car anymore. And it's like, we need to figure out how to deal with your health, because your health is so bad. Like, by the time I was in my 40s, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I was cranky. I know you for 2 years. I'm always smiling when I'm around you because, we have a good time together. But if you knew me 10, 15 years earlier, you like, I have a resting bitch face. Like, I was just mad all the time. And it was funny because when I told people, I thought I was just looking cool, right? But I was in just so much pain. It was just hard to smile. It's hard to, I was joking around on the outside, but, you're breaking down on the inside. And, now it's like 14 years later, living pain-free for the last 8 years. It's like, wow, life's very different. And you're just so much happier, right? And, I'm still learning. There's always ways to improve our health, right?
So when you were going through this, did you start to see, did you notice, now hindsight going back now, did you start to see you and your wife, like you and your mother and father, when you were in pain, did you see like the arguing back and forth like your father and mother did? Because when you're in a lot of pain, people don't understand pain, that you really do have a short fuse and you say things that you didn't mean, you yell when you don't mean to. Did you start looking back in hindsight? Do you see a pattern there?
Yeah, looking back in hindsight, like, I was sort of lucky because when I met Minna, her family's very loving. Like, it's like complete 180 from mine. Like, ever since I met them when 18, when they were in the 40s, 50s, they're holding hands, going everywhere. So when I met Minna, and then, we start having the Sunday dinners at Minna's parents' place, now my in-laws, my parents' place, it was something I never knew relationships can be, right? So luckily for me, is like, I always tell people, you have a choice who you're going to model after, right? So looking at them, I wanted to model our relationship after Minna's parents. Not saying I didn't yell, okay? It's funny because, if you talk to Minna, it'll be very different because, like, I always joke, my family comes from a village in Hong Kong. It's literally still a small village in Hong Kong, right? You walk out that train station, you walk a few steps, and you go back in time in this little village. And I said, that's my village voice, right? Right? Like, I'm not yelling. That's just my village voice. We talk loud, right? But so looking in hindsight, yeah, there's a couple of times, my voice got loud, but it was never to the point where there was an argument. It never got physical, for sure, right? Because I seen that, what the trauma that does, right? So every time, it's really funny. It's like every time something goes on, I sort of channel Minna's dad. I said, what would he do? Like, he's very calm, and I respect him a lot as my dad too, right? My real dad my own dad passed away, but I do respect Minna's dad a lot. And looking at their relationship, I'm glad that's how our relationship ended up, right? Like it was always loving, it was always supportive, right? There were arguments when I blew up, and we knew when to time out. We'll just walk off, give each other time, right? It never got to the point that it was a shouting match. And
Yeah.
and when you get to meet Minna, she's very quiet. Like if you yell at her, she doesn't fuel the fire, right? Like my mom's different. You start argument, she won't let you hear the end of it, right?
That's about how I am. But and I definitely get a short fuse. I could definitely tell you that.
Yeah.
I and people that don't really know me that well, they're like, yeah, she really. But what's funny is when I met my husband, he was a doormat from his former marriage, and
Mm.
his ex walked all over him and
Oh,
control. And then when he met me, and I'm a pretty strong personality,
yes.
and I taught my husband how to fight. So now when I get heated, he knows how to get heated back. And he's like, I'm not putting up with it. So I
Oh,
he's had to put me in my place a few times verbally and say, stop,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
You have to treat each other as equals, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to be going to an event, so I'd like to pause for just a moment and show Andy's bio. And this is how you can reach him. It's got his uh, the TV channel he's on with the show that he does. He's got his website here, two different websites that you can reach out. Actually, one is an email, and then there's website. And then Andy and I are going to be at the Becoming the Better You event that's coming to Kansas City. So I'd like to play a video about that upcoming event now.
Hi, I'm Kevin Harrington. I'm an original shark from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and I'm here with Brenda, and we've got a big event happening this fall in Kansas City, and I'm going to be there, and I know you're going to be there, Brenda. Let's tell the folks all about it so we can get them there too.
Are you letting fear, doubt, insecurities, what other people think stop you? Are you ready to get to the next level of your life? That's what we do. Go on over to comechangeyourlife.com, see what's going on. We have events all over, but we have a powerful event coming up this fall where Kevin is going to be speaking. So if you want to come meet him, you want to come meet me and my team, come on, comechangeyourlife.com.
Well, as you can see from that video, that this event, Becoming the Better You, Come Change Your Life, our theme is that we are all works in progress. And as you heard Andy talk a little bit about his childhood and how he's evolved today, and my background as well, we are works in progress. And so we would love if you would come and join us in Kansas City as well and listen into some of the speakers and connect the dots of their stories with your own, so that as you hear their story, you will also become a better you. So, Andy, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Stay on for a few minutes when we end. And I'm going to end with showing you again the flyer of the event so that you can go to the website today and get your tickets to Come Change Your Life, Becoming the Better You. Thanks so much, Andy, again for joining in today.
Thank you so much, Jill.
See you in Kansas City, everyone.
You
Have
there.
have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us today on The Connection Show, where we bring you stories that will transform your life. The Connection Show would appreciate your support. Please go to either our Patreon page or our PayPal Me Now link today. We love our podcast show guests and appreciate our listeners and YouTube subscribers. Please go to our YouTube channel called The Connection Show and Braveheart Workshops and subscribe now. Remember to click the gray bell in the All tab so you don't miss any upcoming episodes.